welcome back. Let's just jump right in, shall we? Today, we're diving into a really fantastic cinematic documentary source called Architects of Conquest, the world's greatest military commanders. In this explainer, we're totally stripping away the myths to look at the actual blueprints of history's greatest empires. We're going to track the evolution of military command, seeing exactly how leaders, from antiquity right up to modern global conflicts, planned and executed these massive visions. I mean, if you've ever wondered how one single human brain can coordinate tens of thousands of people across entire continents, well, you are in the exact right place.
So let's frame this whole analysis with one core question. What makes a military leader truly great? Is it just brilliant strategy, raw courage on the battlefield? Maybe it's technological innovation, or honestly, just the sheer power to alter human history? As we peel back these historical layers, from ancient parchment maps lit by flickering torches to massive modern communication rooms, keep this question in mind. Because, as you'll see, the answer shifts completely depending on the era, the tech they had, and of course, the unique genius of the commander.
All right, let's start at the beginning with our first section, Masters of Antiquity and the Foundations of Strategy. Stepping into our first era, we're looking at the guys who literally invented the blueprints for battlefield organization. And when you look at this timeline of ancient commanders, it is crazy how tightly packed it is. In a window of just 3 centuries, from the 4th century BC to the 1st century BC, the ancient world produced 3 absolute paradigm shifters: Alexander the Great, Hannibal Barca, and Julius Caesar. In just this short time, military thought evolved from raw, disciplined shock tactics all the way to intricate, continent-spanning logistics. Kicking things off in the 4th century BC, we've got Alexander the Great. Now, his success wasn't just, personal charisma. It was built on terrifying, unified discipline. At the Battle of Gaugamela, he didn't treat his phalanxes and cavalry charges as separate units. No, they were a single, perfectly synchronized battering ram. He used these sweeping, coordinated movements against massive Persian armies to drive an unbelievably rapid expansion all the way from Greece to India.
Then, rolling into the 3rd century BC, Hannibal Barca steps up and just completely changes the game with this wild tactical audacity. He wasn't just hitting hard, he was outthinking his opponents in ways that seemed physically impossible. It all started with intricate maps back in Carthage. That strategic vision gave him the guts to cross the snow-covered Alps with war elephants. I mean, talk about a logistical nightmare that caught Rome totally off guard. But Cannae, the Battle of Cannae, was his true masterpiece. He used pure strategy and these legendary enveloping maneuvers to utterly crush massively disciplined Roman formations. He basically proved that a smaller, smarter force could swallow a larger one whole just through sheer deception.
Fast forward to the 1st century BC, and Julius Caesar enters the chat. But for Caesar, the crucial point wasn't just fighting, it was his procedural genius. The guy was as much a chief engineer as he was a warrior. His campaigns in the Gallic Wars relied on massive engineering projects, complex river crossings, and advanced siege works, all backed by that famous Roman legion discipline. He won by outbuilding and outsupplying everyone else. There's this famous story where he built an enormous timber bridge across a rapid river in just days, essentially just to prove a point to Germanic tribes, and then immediately tore it down as he left. It really shows how Roman expansion relied on infrastructure and logistics just as much as swords and shields.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the Mongol war machine, focusing on speed and coordination.
So we're moving from the marble temples of antiquity out onto the vast, sweeping plains of the 13th century Eurasian steppes. And to understand Genghis Khan's unprecedented expansion, you really have to understand the Mongol horse archer. This was literally the ultimate weapon of the 13th century. Imagine an entire army moving with the speed of cavalry, but striking from the distance of archers, all while wearing this authentic, lightweight armor. These units could reportedly cover up to 100 miles in a single day. While European armies were getting bogged down with heavy infantry and slow supply trains, the Mongols survived on the move and could strike before an enemy even realized they were in the neighborhood.
But here's the really fascinating part. Speed is absolutely useless without direction, right? Genghis Khan's greatest strategic innovation wasn't unleashing some chaotic horde. Actually, it was engineering a highly sophisticated communication machine. The source highlights his development of these advanced messenger networks. This let him orchestrate highly coordinated battlefield maneuvers across hundreds of miles, perfectly syncing up with his cavalry tactics. When you look at the rapid growth of the Mongol Empire across Eurasia, it is a direct testament to this incredible marriage of extreme mobility and flawless long-distance communication.
Moving right along to Section 3, Napoleonic strategic brilliance and the art of campaign planning.
Jumping forward to Napoleonic Europe, we shift to a leader whose greatness was all about the deep, almost mathematical art of strategy. When you picture Napoleon Bonaparte, don't just picture a guy on a horse. Picture a man in a tent, absolutely hyper-focused on a map. Take the Battle of Austerlitz, for example. Napoleon was in his headquarters, meticulously studying tactile campaign maps to calculate exactly when and where to deploy his French imperial artillery and cavalry. It's not about glorifying the battle itself, it's about the profound intellect required to orchestrate it. He treated European geography like a giant chessboard, maneuvering his pieces into winning positions long before a single shot was fired.
Now let's hit Section 4, World War II logistics, representing the modern command.
Jumping into the 20th century, modern military greatness shifts heavily toward massive, mechanized coordination. And the scale here? It's unlike anything we've talked about so far. Enter Dwight D. Eisenhower and Operation Overlord, the Normandy invasion. This was an immense logistical undertaking. You've got authentic Allied planning rooms where commanders are analyzing paper maps, sure, but now they're managing millions of moving parts using advanced communication equipment. Eisenhower's genius wasn't leading a cavalry charge. It was his ability to coordinate landing craft, massive aircraft fleets, and thousands of soldiers simultaneously to penetrate those incredibly complex defensive fortifications at Normandy. This is leadership as the ultimate project management.
And this comparison really illustrates the profound evolution of command. On one side, you have Napoleonic planning. Brilliant, absolutely, but reliant on localized, tactile map reading, limited by human sight and messengers on horseback. On the other side, you've got modern logistics under Eisenhower. We're talking complex Allied planning rooms, leveraging advanced radio tech for massive multi-force coordination across land, sea, and air all at once. The essence of command, processing information to make tactical decisions, is exactly the same, but the scale and the tools, they've completely transformed.
Finally, Section 5, the legacy of command and how it reshaped civilizations. To wrap things up, we have to look at the lasting legacy of these commanders. I want to leave you with this really powerful quote directly from our source material. The greatest military leaders were remembered not only for the battles they won, but for the strategies that reshaped civilizations and forever changed the course of human history. Really think about that for a second. From the disciplined phalanxes of Macedonia to the wild engineering of Rome, the vast communication networks of the Mongols, and the massive logistical war rooms of World War II. These aren't just old battle stories. They are the actual blueprints of the modern world. The borders, cultures, and tech we live with right now were fundamentally shaped by these minds. So, as we look at today's rapidly changing, hyper-connected digital landscape, what do you think the next evolution of brilliant military leadership will look like? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep exploring the structures that built our history, and I'll catch you next time.